All right, we're restarting. We'll have to work through our technical whatever. So we had Duke Power come in to interrupt power, but we're going anyway. I'm going to tag people back in and see if we can get started again. All right. Alrighty, we're just getting warmed up here. We're talking about John Hope Bryant and Love Leadership. I really hope that people will be able to connect with that particular book and author. I'll be posting some things in the Dream Builders Facebook. Please join the group so you'll be able to get access to these wonderful resources. We'll also be posting how to do your evaluations around your personal assessment to look at your signature strengths related to character. What are your character and values? So that when from a leadership perspective, there are ways you can develop and strengthen them, of course, but understanding what your strengths are in that area and being able to capitalize on them from a leadership perspective is really going to drive up your leadership effectiveness. And as we talked about the law of the lid, the higher the capabilities of your organization to deliver. Your organization may be your family. You may have generational goals. You may have a child sitting beside you right now looking at how mom or dad is dealing with this crisis and drawing, some lessons that will be with them for the rest of their lives. So just want to encourage all of us, some people even question, am I a leader? It's not about your title. It's how you show up. It's the energy that you bring. It's the direction that you provide. It's the confidence and stability and stretch, right? Because people need to know and have some comfort that that things are going to be okay. They're looking for that, that calm voice. So we have to have practices for our own calm. I'm doing work with the group on Wednesday where we're looking at how to build that calm, how to drive up our emotional well-being. That emotional well-being, some techniques around savoring and mindfulness and gratitude. How do we help ourselves from the inside out to become that leader when the crisis comes or even when it's not there, right? You want to be able to have that outer face equal to that inner face because there's calm, there's character, there's positive virtues that are worthy of followership. So let me just do my last tap here and see who we have. Cheryl Bacode. I'm always going to call you Cheryl Bacode, but hey, thanks for coming. Cheryl Leafheart. I was just talking about you yesterday. How are things going at the school? You're having to be an adaptable leader in crisis, right? Give me a shout out. Give me a psh, if you can relate to that. So our talk today is about character and leadership. We've been talking about leadership during crisis and how does our character show up. And I was just taking the group through, and I'll complete now. Applying our intellectual capabilities can help us to bring out our character and allow it to show. So I'm just giving you, this is called 6 intellectual faculties that can link who we are spiritually to what we bring about physically. Thank you very much. You're right, Cheryl. You're right. It's not the title. It's the energy that you bring. Spot on. So if you look at our intellectual capability, it's our bridge to bring what we see spiritually and what can be found in intuition and goal setting and what we imagine is possible. And it's the way that we bring it into the lowest level of plane of existence into the physical world is through manifestation. So that manifestation, the intellectual and the spirit, if we apply 6 intellectual faculties, it's going to allow us to be able to bring things into being so that we do show up as leaders in that crisis, and our character and and those things that we intend will begin to manifest. We talked about the ability to reason, using your intellect in the way of reasoning and solving problems. It's a function of your level of awareness, though. And remember, I teach all the time that you're limited by your level of awareness. So if you're just looking at things like the turtle, remember, you want to be the giraffe. You want to take altitude. And that altitude, you're able to see more, see further, see patterns. So apply that ability of reason, and in parallel, lift your awareness so that you're coming up with bigger visions. You're coming up with things that can happen. Remember, your body is a puppet of the mind. Everything happens at least in two places. First in your thinking, and then in your manifestation. So don't limit yourself when it comes to that reasoning and figuring out what's possible. The next one is your will. Your will is simply about focus. Simply about focus. And it's concentration, on what your goal is. Sustained focus, control to the exclusion of every distraction. So I'm unemployed during this crisis, and so many people have asked me why I'm still working for the school, even though I can't see all of it. But what I want to say, I love where you're going, because there's a story where a gentleman who, while unemployed, gave exemplary service to an organization. Because when you're unemployed, sometimes if you take yourself out of the flow of things, it'll be very difficult to get back, right? Right? Is that true? And if you keep your mind going and people can see and can see what you can do, when the opportunities come, you'll be at first of mind, because you'll be right there. You'll be the one that they pull into it. And for me, I learned so many of my skills that I'm operating in right now. I'm operating in prosperity in those things, those skills that I built when I was volunteering and not getting a dime for it. So the skills and the capabilities that you get, I'm hoping I can click on see more and still see the thing. So let me just try. Okay. So Shirley said, I'm unemployed during this crisis, and so many people have asked me why I'm still working for the school, even though they're not currently paying me. And I explained to them that even though I'm not getting paid, my staff is still looking to me for leadership. It's my obligation. Let's give snaps for Cheryl, because that's spot on. That's leadership in crisis. You're showing what your value and your characteristics is about, because guess what? Money motivates only to the level at which it's satisfied. Once your needs are satisfied, money no longer motivates you. When you begin to look at the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is taking care of shelter and all of those things. Get that taken care of. You begin to move into meaning. You begin to move into value. You begin to move into self-actualization around purpose. Why am I here? And then you go to self-transcendence, which says, beyond my personal success, I'm now looking at how I can lead a significant life by benefiting others. That's self-transcendence. And we can see that Cheryl is way up the ladder. So you go, Cheryl. Snap, snap, snap to you. Bunke, thank you for joining. And Tanya, I'm glad to see you on the call. Leaders. I've seen Bunke transform her body through personal leadership, just leading, acting even when she doesn't feel like it. Amen, Brittany. Go ahead, Brittany. Thank you very much for the support. So the will is so very important. You ever hear people talk about they have laser focus? And I tell you what, as a mother of 5, career mom, I always valued multitasking. And I tell people about the jokes where I came into the house in my coat, hadn't fixed dinner, in my coat, the baby's over here, whatever. In that season of my life, it was a skill and it was a capability that I had to develop and know how to use. But is it the most efficient way to move forward? And y'all hear me say Chris Rock a lot, because I love comedy. Comedy allows you to just kind of look at the world with a different lens and not take everything so seriously. But Chris Rock has this joke that says, you can drive a car with your feet, but that doesn't necessarily make it a good idea. So what do I mean? Multitasking has a season and a place, but please respect the power of focus. Please respect the power of depth. Please respect the power of putting on blinders and just going as far as you can, as deep as you can, as well as you can. That's what will allows you to do. So it's very, very, so don't be sucked into that shiny object where everything that comes is a squirrel and you're chasing it, because people need for leaders to be deliberate, consistent, and focused. If you're running and chasing all around. Your will is weak. You're not operating in your strongest power space of will. So that's what you need to be able to bring out to be that leader in crisis that sets the tone and is not set by the tone. Now, memory. Memory is another intellectual capability. The joke really is we don't have a choice. We have memory of everything. Some people say from in the womb, from the time of creation, inception, that we have memory. We know what was happening in the womb, but our challenge is recalling it, isn't it? In our conscious and subconscious mind, you'll find memories of conversations. So let me ask you, what did you have for dinner last night? So by me invoking that question, it made you go back and think about it. You're not actively carrying, in your mind what you had for dinner last night. But if you put the right triggers in place, you can bring out a memory of the past because we're carrying all the information that we need. It's with us. It's our ability to bring it out. Now, take a leap with me here. That is not, so just as we can pull out a memory from the past, do you think we can create a memory of our future? Do you think we can use the same capabilities in our imagination, which is another law, to remember our future by going there, like through visualization, by sitting and imagining what it is that you want to bring into the situation where this crisis exists? What is it that, salmon and turkey, see, it was sitting there waiting for you to call down. Just like the future that you need for your organization is sitting there for you to call down. It's sitting there for you to bring into your personal understanding through your memory, because it's a memory of the future. And I'll get back to why memory of the future is an important strategic thing for a leader. You pull down an imagination for you, and then your job is to paint it so vividly that even a blind man can see it. So you're going to paint it with colors. You're going to paint it with depth. You're going to paint it with experience, with touch. Make it very clear. Because guess what? When a crisis is going on, there's so many distractions. If you don't make that vision so clear, make it plain, people won't connect with it. They won't understand it, and they'll be easily distracted. And that brings about those emotions, right? Emotions are situational. The sadness, the ambiguity, the uncertainty. I would dare say that crisis is a case study in uncertainty. Crisis presents the opportunity for you to write a case study. Look at COVID-19. How long will it last? How far will it go? All of those questions. But being able to link on it and have an imagination of what is possible and what can bring, what can come. So just as I got you to remember what your meal was, how many of you, when you look at a menu, do you realize that you're imagining? You're thinking about a future situation. So, okay, how much did I already eat today? What do I have a taste for? That menu is inviting you to begin to define a future experience. And you're, what does that feel like and taste like and smell like and touch? What's the texture? All of those are so powerful as a leader that if you can invoke that capability of imagination, it's so powerful to bring people along and just carry them to very difficult places. Shireen carried with me, and we were in 2016 with our American Women's Club, and the oil price sunk and all kinds of things were coming as distractions. And we held our club together, and we did Small World, and we delivered it and did big things when it was very, very challenging. I see the amen, Stacy. I like it. Welcome, Loretta. So that faculty of memory and the link with imagination is so key. And when I talk about the memory of the future, have you noticed that sometimes when people are setting a target, they've got facts and figures? Our KPIs will be this and blah, 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 blah. And it feels so robotic, impersonal. Something I can't envision and see. One of the biggest challenges with goal setting and goal achievement is that people don't know it when they're moving toward it. They can't sense it. So that's the power of creating a memory of your future and depositing it in your subconscious so that when you're moving along that path, you know you're on track. So that as a leader, don't leave that intellectual capability untapped in your ability to pull people through crisis. The next one is intuition. I talk about it all the time. Wayne Dwyer says that prayer is us speaking to God. Intuition is God speaking to us. Can you imagine? God speaking to us. I know for me on a journey, I had some challengings. You ever have some problems that you can't even think through it? And for me, I'd always leaned to my intellect. I said, if anything comes, and I'm not being braggadocious, but it was what had always worked. And generally when you are working in a space of what always worked, what got you there may not get you there. I said that wrong. What got you here may not get you there. So it's important to begin to employ different techniques. Long story short, for me, when I couldn't figure it out and think it out, I began to get quiet and still. And guess what? My intuition turned on. My intuition, being able to hear God. And I knew I was hearing him because was nobody else talking. And each thing that I would begin to do was like it was in sync and in harmony with something happening in the universe. And that's intuition. So my team at Shell, they joke, my hand would be itching and next thing you would see money would be coming on some of our deals. It was like I would talk about, a particular client that we're doing something with and an email would come. So do not sleep on that capability of hearing God. So you've got to quiet yourself sometimes because sometimes we're so loud we can't hear it. Meditation does that for us. Some of the rituals of scheduling routine and quiet time, reading, opening yourself up. You know how we talk about the green car? Once you buy a green car, you see it everywhere. Well, that's really the faculty. It's the sixth faculty of perception. It's like edited observation. You've been seeing all these things, just like in memory, it's deposited. But every day you see so many things. But once you have now linked on to this is the thing I want to do or accomplish with my team, and we're focused in that direction, then all of these capabilities kick in. Your perception basically is your reticular activating system, right? It's saying that now that I want to make $1 million in this quarter, opportunities for that $1 million are now popping into my consciousness, right? Because your subconscious is now scanning for it. It's your edited observation. Now we have to have filters because if we didn't have filters, we would see everything and we'd be overwhelmed. So once your mind and your subconscious is now keyed in on all these things that you're trying to lead your team toward, you're going to begin to see those opportunities. And as you see those opportunities and see those possibilities and hear intuitively and have that imagination, there's no way that you won't cascade that onto your team. Sit with that for a minute. Get it yourself and then cascade it to your team. Be a model of these capabilities. Be a model of your core values coming out, that core value of care, those domains of wisdom and knowledge. Be in a learning posture. Think about the CEO of Zoom. He could have gone somewhere and hidden, but no, he came forward. I talked to you about my personal crisis story, huge crisis when I first started at Shell, and we had a kind of a terrorist bomb explosion in one of our locations. No one was hurt. But our leadership made a decision to evacuate 500 people in 2 days. I was just 3 weeks on the job, didn't even know the processes. But what did I learn? What I brought to it was an open mind. I brought a willingness. I brought an understanding that the reason that we were doing our work was for care. We cared about these individuals. We cared about not just the staff, but their spouse and their kids. Can you imagine 2 days before Christmas needing to leave the country with just 2 suitcases and you're not knowing when you're coming back or going? I was a leader in that space. And when we talked about leadership led, I didn't have the technical knowledge because, again, I've been on the job exactly. See, I started December 1st and the bomb exploded on December 17th. We had to evacuate starting December 21st. I didn't know the hotel policies. I didn't know anything about Hamilton and what effect that would have on the weather. I didn't know our welfare policies, but what I brought to it was an open mind and a clear objective. Single mission, multiple perspectives, needing to work with our aviation team, our logistics team, our HR, our welfare, our travels. I was responsible for international travel, but I didn't know the procedures. And Loretta was a part of this. You had to really link on with people who knew, empower them, open them up, and make sure it wasn't a big madame ship, because that's where we get it wrong sometimes. We bring that position and I know and you can't tell me and nobody knows. Don't let the people who work on the system block the knowledge of the people who work in the system. As leaders, we are enablers, but oftentimes we're not the ones doing the detailed work. I found, like, even in my experience post-retirement at Shell, starting a document from scratch for so long. I've had others that draft the document and I review it. Being able to know how to do that is very important. But what's my point? When we're leading a team, role clarity and role delineation is important. So you can't know at the same level of depth what everybody in your team knows. Anybody who leads from that perspective is faulty and will have limited lid capability. So for me, I didn't have all the knowledge of all the processes this way in the lid, but I had the openness and the capability to empower leaders. And I worked alongside other leaders. I wasn't overall in on top of it. Hi, Goke. Hi. Danya and Crystal, my people, thank you very much for joining today. So what I want to leave with you is a quick wrap up. We've been going on this journey, and again, Patrenia Speaks is here to listen to you, support you, encourage you, inspire, motivate you in action, and help you. And this particular session is going to be going out in 2 different videos because we actually had a little video break and brought everybody back in. Welcome, David. I hope that you'll be listening to this as well, because he's our new GM of real estate. He's my colleague. So hi, Dave. Glad to see you on. So in our first section, day 1 was defining the crisis and the criticality of a leader being able to define reality. Please look at the recording of that and the mastermind questions. The second is battling distractions during the crisis, not letting the squirrels or the geckos take you off mark. That's by having a singular mission, but multiple perspectives, and using all the strength of your team to keep them focused. And you need to have focus. And that links back to the will, which is the intellectual capability that I spoke about a little earlier. Being able to have the will and sustained focus and control to the exclusion of all distractions. That's what you need to bring. Okay, thanks, Goke. I see you need to leave. Day 3 that we're on now is character in crisis. Please follow the link that's being posted so that we can send you the participant mastermind guide, because that's where the questions are going to come that will allow you to probe deeper into yourself. Because remember, knowing something is not a guarantee that you will get the benefit of it. Knowing something without the action and the practice and the repeated practice and the learning is folly. So it's a knowing doing gap. So if you want to become and evolve as a leader and bring on the learning posture that we've talked about, the adaptability, being that great coach who has a plan for the game but knows how to modify at halftime, who knows how to evoke all of these 6 intellectual capabilities that we have that bridge our spiritual and our physical world, then you need to practice and you need to probe, and that's what the mastermind allows you to do. I'll be posting additional resources and materials on the Facebook group Dream Builders. So in that Dream Builders group, you'll be able to see the John Hope Bryant information and some videos from John Maxwell as well. So please join us there. I'll be posting the recording and you'll be able to go back into it. But please let me know, did any of this register with you? Did any of this satisfy any questions that you've been having or challenges? Cheryl gave us a testimony where she's not being paid during this time that her school is shut down, and people are wondering why she's still working, why she's still leading. That's her character showing up. In the Yoruba, I talked about the outer man and the inner man. And times of stress, that outer man begins to fall off and fall away. And we begin to see what you're really made of. An orange, when we squeeze it, we get orange juice, not lemon juice. Show who you are, be who you are, grow who you are, and lift the capabilities of your organization by leading through crisis, by making your character speak for you and lead for you. I want to thank you today. I'll do the questions separately, and I'll do that as a separate video, but thank you so much for joining. And again, list in the comments if you have any questions that you want us to address. We can do a Q&A as well, or we can bring things out. I've shared stories around my own experience with the evacuation in 2006 and how that brought out of me maybe leadership that I didn't know I had. You know, when stress comes, again, that's when the true self shows up. And make sure, thank you very much, Brittany, and just make sure that best self is the one that can take the team over the line, take the department over the line, take the family over the line. And remember, people are always watching. They're looking for a compelling reason to follow. Are you going somewhere that they wanna be? Are you leading them to a place of elevation, or are you in the moan and groan of everyone else? Thank you very much. Patrenia Speaks.